Hello, this is Ellen Butler, and I write the Karina Cardinal Mystery Series. An art heist, a cybercrime, a diamond theft, and artifact forgery. What do they all have in common? Karina Cardinal and her unchecked inquisitiveness. You are listening to the Dark and Stormy Book Club podcast.
Hello, and welcome to episode 179 of Dark and Stormy Book Club. And today we go to the spooky side, and we have a supernatural roundup. Ooh. Enjoy. I'm Ann Dark.
I'm Tracy Stormy.
And I'm Kathy Knight.
And together we are
It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club,
A podcast for mystery lovers.
Welcome. If you enjoy our show, please consider contributing to the Dark and Stormy Patreon. By becoming a patron, you will help us create better and quality content. There are also benefits to becoming a patron, such as exclusive content and Dark and Stormy merchandise. Become a supporter at patreon.com/darkandstormybc. Check our website for the link. We appreciate any and all contributions. Thank you.
The first book I have is called A Charming Deception. It is by Tonya Kappes. It is number 13 in the Magical Cures Mystery Series. June Heel and Oscar Park are a couple. They live in the town of Whispering Fall. She lives half in the supernatural world and half in the real world.
Okay.
So she's pregnant, and of course there are risks because she has this baby. Her husband is a human. There are questions whether she'll have a healthy baby. So she goes to see a specialist who happens to deal in this kind of thing, and she is put on bed rest. All the patients, when she goes in there, they're nosy and they want to know what's going on. She calls the baby Little One. She has an ultrasound, and there's all kinds of weird things that happen during the ultrasound, and the baby's just kind of acting up. So they put her on bed rest. Well, she goes to her next appointment. The receptionist for the doctor is found strangled to death.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
I know. She has to get involved.
These wouldn't be very interesting books if they sat back and said, oh, well.
Right. It appears that Roma, who was the receptionist for the doctor, she was being a little nosy about what was going on about the doctor's patients that happened to have magic as their basis. And of course, it's a cozy, so it's kind of predictable. It was a little obvious as to who the murderer was, but it was a fun book. Now, this is number 13, and I just found this series. It apparently is the last one in the series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've got to go back and read all the ones that...
And you will.
Oh, yes.
Probably in a week.
Yeah, no, not in a week. The characters in this book are just so much fun. There's Prince Charming.
Oh.
There's a cat.
Of course.
There are...
I think there's a contract.
Yeah.
You have to have a cat.
Yes. It's got all kinds of the little herbs and their uses. And she's in the middle of a mystery, and she's due any minute to have this baby. The baby's not acting like a normal baby.
Oh, is she paranormal too?
He. It's going to be a boy. It's just a lot of fun. So Tonya Kappes has written over 175 cozies.
Holy moly!
She has been on the bestseller list of USA Today and Women's World Book Club twice.
And I've never heard of her.
And I've never heard of her either until I found this book. You will enjoy this series, I'm sure, if the others are anything like this one. It is very good. And Tonya lives with her husband in northern Kentucky. She has 4 boys who have flown the coop. She writes full-time in a camper.
Wow.
And you can find her all over social media, but her website is tonyakappes.com.
Oh, very good. I like a good paranormal
Spellbinding
Yes,
tale.
yes. Now, I'm going to take us to the dark side.
Ooh.
Because that's how I roll. I did one on The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. It was put out in February of 2020 by Berkeley Press. I'm going to start off by saying this would make such an epic movie. Oh my gosh. Hollywood, just grab this book and make a movie of it because I will be first in line. Simone St. James is definitely an author to keep an eye on. The secrets lurking in the rundown roadside motel ensnare a young woman, just as they did her aunt 35 years before. In this new atmospheric suspense novel from the nationally best-selling and award-winning author of The Broken Girls, Upstate New York, 1982. Every small town like Fell, New York has a place like the Sundown Motel. Some customers are out of town, passing through on their way to someplace better. Some are locals trying to hide their secrets. Viv Delaney worked as a night clerk to pay for her move to New York City, but something isn't right at the Sundown, and before long she's determined to uncover all the secrets.
Ooh.
This was such a good story. I could not put this book down. Viv and her niece Carly, who comes along 35 years later, both work as night clerks at this hotel. They both end up in Fell, New York. I'm not sure if Fell, New York is a real place. I don't think it is.
I haven't heard that name before.
And if anything, it's such a small town, it wouldn't be on anybody's radar anyway. Carly comes along because she wants to try to figure out what happened to her aunt because her aunt disappeared from the motel 35 years before, and I mean completely disappeared. There's no trace of her.
She works at the hotel.
Yes. Viv worked at the hotel in 1982.
Her aunt.
Her aunt, yes, she's the aunt. And Carly's mother dies. So once Carly's mother died, she had heard all about Viv, and she was intrigued.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
she shows up in Fell. I don't think she necessarily set out to work at the hotel, but they needed a night clerk. She took the job.
Okay.
This book did such a good job. You could hear the creaks. You could hear the wind blowing. Think about it. A almost deserted hotel, very few people there, and the people that are there are not necessarily on the up and up. They're your drug dealers. They're your people having affairs. They're just people trying to escape. So nobody's there on vacation. This book is told in 2 different timelines. It's told in Carly's timeline in 2017, and then you've got Viv's story from 1982. And this book really brought back some memories for me because I graduated in 1982. So I have some fond memories of that time. What tied the story together so well was the fact that there were a lot of the same characters in both timelines because Carly, while she's on this quest to try to figure out what happens to her aunt, she finds the police officer who investigated, a woman police officer. This woman is, at first, really doesn't want to give her any information. She's very hands-off. Then I think she takes Carly under her wing. The ending of this story is so satisfying. I just loved every minute of it. It's just how I would have wanted the book to end.
So Carly is more the protagonist than Viv.
Yeah, I would say so. Ghosts start to show up.
Ooh, goody.
Doors start to open on their own. She can smell cigarette smoke when there's nobody around. And then, how can you not like a story that a woman in a flower dress shows up and says, "Run"?
Ooh, not a book to read by yourself in a creepy old house.
I have never read anything by Simone St. James. I've heard a lot about the Broken Girls, and I definitely want to go
Oh,
back.
I've heard of Broken
Yeah.
Girls, but I haven't read it.
Yes, she is now like jumping to the top of the list of an author that I am going to be looking forward to her next books.
Oh, good.
Simone St. James is the USA Today and New York Times best-selling author of The Sundown Motel, The Broken Girls, and The Haunting of Mattie Clare, which won 2 Rita Awards from Romance Writers of America and the Arthur Ellis Award from Crime Writers of Canada. She wrote her first ghost story about a haunted library when she was in high school and spent 20 years behind the scenes in the television business before leaving to write full-time. She lives outside Toronto, Canada with her husband and a very spoiled cat.
I didn't know my cat lived part-time in Canada. I have the most spoiled cat in the world.
Yeah, Saki is quite the diva.
My second book is called Murder Take Two. It is by Carol J. Perry. It is number 10 in her Witch City mystery series. It is by Kensington, and we thank Michelle and Larissa for sending us this book to review. When a copycat killer has reporter Lee Barrett brushing up on ancient history, it's a test where failure could be fatal. Lee Barrett is a field reporter for a television station and an amateur sleuth in Salem, Massachusetts, my favorite city in the whole world. She is well versed in the history of Salem. She works part-time at the Salem Historical Society Museum, which we have visited many times.
Yep.
When the murder of a revered local professor, Samuel Bond, resembles a killing from almost 200 years ago, everyone is on edge, especially Assistant Professor Cody McGinnis. Not only did Cody have differences with Professor Bond, he even taught a course on the historic murder. And when his fingerprints and ladder are found at the crime scene, the police are certain of his guilt. Cody's family, however, believes otherwise and asks Lee for her assistance. Now, with the help of her clairvoyant cat Orion, her tech-savvy librarian Aunt Ibby, and Pete Mondello, her handsome detective beau, obligatory policeman,
Yeah.
Lee will delve deeper than ever into Salem's past and into her own psychic gifts to find the real killer before someone else is history.
Ooh, dun dun dun.
I like this series. It's got a lot of historical facts mixed in with your obligatory cozy. It's a fun read. My books are both lighthearted. Right now in my life, I need some lighthearted.
Yep.
Dark stuff right now has to take a backseat. She has these friends. Well, I guess they're sort of relatives. They're twins. They're retired policemen, and they are so much fun in this series. They're always helping her out and getting into all kinds of antics. If you visited Salem, you can picture the places that are in the story because she does mix a lot of the present with the past. It's a series, when I pick it up, I know I'm going to enjoy it.
You're going to get entertained.
Yeah. She has a cat. She lives on the 3rd floor of a house. She will come in her entrance. The cat will be on the 3rd floor. And before she gets to the first step, the cat's beside her.
As only cats can
It's
do.
only,
Maybe there's
Could be.
2, and she just doesn't know
well,
it.
that could be it. Aunt Ibby is a lot of fun. She's not the comic relief in the story because the 2 brothers are more the comic relief. She's the voice of reason. When Lee gets a little confused or something, she brings her down.
Oh, okay.
You know, talks her down and gives her a little dose
So
of...
what's the paranormal element of this
Well,
story?
she has some psychic ability.